Hello and welcome to the first edition of the Play Up podcast for 2025. I hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year's and not feeling too hungover and not too dispirited in going back to work or going back to school or wherever you're going back to these last few days. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And once again, I'm joined by some great friends and Pompey fans here. So first of all, I'd like you to introduce Jamie. How are you doing, Jamie?
I'm on mute. How are you?
You weren't ready for that, were you?
I wasn't. No,
Sorry, mate.
no.
Sorry, mate. You're first in my queue on the window there, so I've got to first. So Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, and right back at you, baby.
Thank you. And I'm also joined by Phil Sands. Hello, Phil. How you doing?
Evening, everyone. Happy New Year.
New Year to you. And next up, we've got Tim. How you doing, Tim?
Yeah, good. Good to see you all.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Reese. How you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Hello, all, and Happy New Year. All good here, thank you.
Awesome. So I thought I'd do it a little bit different this year and get the guys to do a review because we had such a lot of games between the last pod and now, and quite a lot to talk about. I thought I'd just let the guys deal with a match each. So first up, we've got Coventry, the 4-1 win, the Callum Lang show, and that's being covered by Phil, I believe. So all yours, Phil. How did you see that?
Well, cast your minds back to December the 21st, 2024, which seems like an awfully long time ago.
It does.
Pompey hosted Coventry City, or as we're contractually now obliged to call them, Frank Lampard's Coventry City. The latest incarnation of Lampard's managerial vanity project rolled into Fratton Park. As an aside, according to the National Geographic magazine, the most average person in the world is a 28-year-old Chinese man who's right-handed, earns less than $12,000 a year, owns a mobile phone but doesn't have a bank account. If they were tasked to find the most average football manager in the world, I suspect they'd come up with a public school educated 46-year-old man with a GCSE in Latin who lives in Surrey and is married to a former One Show presenter. Anyway, enough about Mr. Average with his 3 wins, 3 draws and 3 defeats in 9 games. Let's get on to the match. So there was only 2 changes from the woeful 4-0 defeat at Derby. Zach Swanson replaced Terry Devlin at right back following Devlin's difficult evening against Pompey old boy Nathaniel Mendes-Lang. And Riley Towler came in from the cold to replace the hapless Tom McIntyre. The game started in typical fashion. Back 4 looked like they'd only just been introduced to each other 5 minutes before kickoff. And then Callum Lang, more about him later, gave the ball away with a needless dive outside the Coventry box. This led to a fast break by the impressive Ephraim Mason Clark, who provided the exotically named Belgian striker Norman Bassett, son of Mike, with the easiest of tap-ins. Here we go again, was the general mood. They say moments change matches, and 2 minutes later came the moment that undoubtedly changed this one. Goalscorer Bassett latched onto a hopeful ball over the top, with a rusty Towler paying for an offside that clearly wasn't there. Nicholas Schmidt positioned himself perfectly, and in a move reminiscent of Peter Schmeichel, made himself big, didn't commit himself by going to ground, and forced Bassett into choosing where to put the ball. Schmeichel put the ball to Schmidt's right. Schmidt stuck out a leg and deflected it wide of the goal. Now, it might not be the most spectacular save, but it was a piece of textbook goalkeeping that prevented Coventry from going 2 up. Then, arguably against the run of play, visiting keeper Bradley Collins failed to deal with a dangerous Matt Ritchie corner. Colby Bishop, hard-working as ever, nicked the loose ball off of Coventry's right back and pulled it back to Callum Lang on the edge of the box. Lang took a touch before striking a half volley that bounced under the arms of the Coventry keeper at the precise moment that I finished shouting, "Don't shoot from there, Lang." Pompey were up and running, but Coventry still looked like the team were most likely to score the next goal, hitting the post, drawing a couple of smart saves from Schmidt and seeing Conor Ogilvie clear off the line. There was then a sense of that Lady Luck might just be on our side. Shortly before half-time, Pompey had the lead. Coventry's defence failed to deal with the long ball from Freddie Potts, and Lang, brimming with confidence, hammered the ball into the roof of the net from a tight angle. More questions could have been asked of Collins and the Coventry goal. The half then drew to a close, and despite being a goal to the good, there was a sense that the next goal would be crucial. And so it proved to be. 3 minutes after the break, an unmarked Lang headed a Potts corner into an open net as the Coventry keeper came out for a ball he was never going to get to. The goal seemed to really knock the stuffing out of the visitors. And Lang had bagged himself an impressive hat-trick. Surely the afternoon couldn't get any better for him or any worse for the shell-shocked Coventry goalie. But it could. A delightful cross from the rampaging Ogilvie was met with a vicious volley, which Collins somehow got a hand to and managed to claw off the line. Unfortunately for him, his nemesis was there waiting to pounce. 4 goals for Callum Lang, first player to achieve this since Yakubu against Middlesbrough back in 2005. Remaining 30 minutes went by without much incident. No fairy tale fifth for Lang, who was substituted as standing ovation from the Fratton faithful. On another day, we'd have been punished for some shambolic defending, and the outcome might have been a lot different. But as it was, thanks to Schmidt at one end and deserved man of the match Lang at the other, Pompey cruised to a 4-1 victory, giving us renewed optimism as we headed into a busy Christmas period.
Terrific stuff, Phil. Thanks very much. I mean,
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you reminded us of all that detail. I've completely forgot that so much happened in the match, especially. Jamie, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so just because of the 4 goals and the Yakubu, I did do some looking up. Can anyone name the only 2 players to ever get 5 goals for us and when? I'm looking at you.
Someone mentioned one at the game, and he's got a really strange surname. A really odd surname.
Yeah, he's got a really odd. Yeah, it's Alf Strange. So
That was it.
Yeah.
yeah.
1923
1923 against Gillingham. Anyone for the other one?
More recent or less recent?
Slightly more recent. I don't think any of us were alive though. So
Peter Harris.
yes, yeah, Peter Harris, 5 goals against Aston Villa in 1958.
So it's been a long time since we've seen a performance like that. I mean, I think if I remember Yakubu's against Middlesbrough literally just folded, didn't they? There was no fight in them at all. Last game of the season, they had nothing to play for. We were at home, full house. Yakubu obviously wanted to win that bet with Harry Redknapp, so he went on a rampage. So Lang's performance, to put into context, in a struggling side, quite remarkable, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll be lucky to keep him, I think, at this rate.
I think that did prompt the first sort of can Pompey hang on to Starman Lang sort of headline, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, can Pompey hang on to a 4-1 lead with 15 minutes to go? Because that's kind of how the season's been going, isn't it, really?
Yep.
Brilliant stuff, Phil. Thanks very much. Very high bar there. So I think, Tim, you're doing the Watford games.
Anyone else want to follow Phil instead?
No.
I don't know. This isn't going to be quite as good as that. I think it's probably a bit more of an emotion-filled response for the
I'm sure it will.
Watford
Everyone's
game.
got their own style too. Tim, off you go.
Yeah, I mean, the first few seconds of the game saw their on loan Bournemouth striker Jefferson run through, didn't it? And it kind of got past Pack, had a pretty clear one-on-one shot straight at the keeper, good save. After that, it was all us for the rest of the next 10 minutes. I thought Murphy was looking quite dangerous. It was a ball in from him that one of their defenders kind of knocked back. Zach Swanson was in a great position for it and hit a lovely sort of half volley into the bottom left corner. And things were looking pretty good for quite a little while, I thought, throughout the first half. Thought as the game, the half wore on, though, Watford definitely got back into it and got on top. From what I was watching, I thought, again, Schmidt, can't remember exactly when they were, but he made a couple of other decent saves, really good saves as well. We went in 1-0 up at half time. It was all looking quite good. Second half is going to be remembered for a few different bits. I think for me, the refereeing was not up to standard, I think was the phrase Mousinho said. It was below the bar of what you would expect for professional football in the Championship. And, even watching it in real time, you're thinking, like, is that going to be a goal kick or a free kick just outside the box? The commentators on the stream I was watching it on, absolutely mystified, as I think we all were. Even if it's real time, you could see that it was outside, so it was gutting, really. Referees run over to linesmen. I'm not quite sure how they've arrived at that decision, but you could see how gutted players like Potts were and Pack, and it was given. Great penalty. Smashed it into the top left-hand corner, and then it started to get a little bit spicy, didn't it, from then on? So a few sort of handbags as Schmidt's getting the ball out the back of the net and everything, and it kicked on a notch, it seemed, from there for as a game. It had a nice sort of spicy feel to it. And then, of course, 25th minute. I suppose the other thing to say, that penalty that was given as well, for about 10 seconds earlier, it could have been a free kick for us for a foul on Bishop at the other end as well. So that's another kind of gutting aspect of it. I think Mousinho then said that he thought that maybe we should have had a penalty right near the end for that tackle on Lang. Not sure about that myself. Seen it back a few times. I think it's one of those ones you'd like it to be given. You'd be gutted if it was given against you. And then the 95th minute, a bit of a goalmouth scramble. Could Pack or Towler have cleared it? Could Schmidt have just got hold of it, done something with it? But it's ended up in the back of the net. Full-time whistle's gone. One of their lads has decided to run up to the Pompey fans at the other end as well, just to sort of keep making it spicy. Got himself a second yellow card for doing his little dance in front of the Pompey fans, and just the overriding feeling of being absolutely gutted with getting no points at the end of that. Really, I think especially after such a good performance, in the 4-1 win the game before. It felt gutting. I'm glad that we're doing this about 11 days later now, because I'd have probably been a bit more ranty and sweary and vociferous maybe in what I'm saying about it. Whereas I'm being hopefully quite measured now about it.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
a strange
gutted.
game. I don't remember us ever having much trouble up in Watford. And
No.
does anyone know what triggered Bard doing that? What he did at the end. I mean, I don't remember there anything in particular, but being done to him or anything like that that would make him run up to the away fans and start
No,
dancing
I thought
around.
it was
It
just
just
going to
seemed
be
a
because
really
he was.
stupid and weird thing to do.
And the linesman in that corner, he's a work colleague of mine. And I was hoping to get hold of him yesterday and today for tonight just to understand what actually went on in that corner. But let me take that as an action for the next one, and I'll see if I can find out what went on. But he was not the one at the other end who gave the penalty. So just to be clear.
Right.
Well, okay, because if you summed it up brilliantly, Tim, but what I remember is that obviously Potts made the challenge, but it didn't. He made no contact with the player. It seemed as if the player took one step and then threw himself into the box.
He fell into the box.
And the referee gave a corner. Clearly, the referee made a decision to give a corner. So then the Watford players were surrounding him, saying, "Speak to the assistant." And then the assistant, who I don't see how he can tell from his level position whether it's inside or outside the box. He must be guessing. In which case, it's a ridiculous thing to do, isn't it? Really, to make a decision from that point, unless the referee asked him specifically. It may have been in the box. Do you think it's in the box? Which is a leading question. You don't know how the conversation went. So it's really disappointing. I mean, we've lost games in the last minute throughout this championship season away from home, but to do it and we've generally been culpable because we've not been good enough to defend. But the Watford loss was particularly difficult to take because we had matched them, and as you said, Tim, probably it maybe have had a chance or two to win the match, but I think a draw would have been fair over the balance of the game, and even with the penalty being given as it did, it was just a difficult loss.
Yeah, it's a tough one to take, isn't it, when it happens like that? But they've got a great record up there at Vicarage Road as well, Watford, this season, haven't they? They haven't been beaten, I think. So, but to sort of be in that manner, they were edge of the playoffs. We were fourth from bottom, so close to getting something from it. After some capitulations away from home, it was a really good performance that you can take something from, I think, at least.
Yeah, I mean,
even if not a point.
They may be up in the top 10, but again, they didn't look anything special, did they? And we've played a few teams this season where, when we've competed, when we've been able to compete, when we've had the team to do so, we've made some teams, look fairly average. And Watford to me looked another one of these fairly average teams that I'm sure if they snuck into the playoffs and went up, would absolutely get demolished like Southampton are. So
yeah. I thought Richie going off was a difficult one as well, because obviously he went off a few minutes after half time. I think he did get a bit of a clattering tackle from Bard, didn't he?
He did.
Which resulted in a yellow, his first yellow. So that was disappointing, because I thought he was playing very well, and a special mention for Swanson, who I thought had an excellent game.
I thought Swanson, I love Terry Devlin. I think his attitude's great. Swanson looked like a proper right back. Terry Devlin looks like someone doing a really good job as a right back. Swanson looks like a proper right back to me.
Good to see him back, yeah. And as we were discussing in the following games, he's been kept at that level, which is brilliant. So Bristol City away was next up, and I believe this is yours, Reese.
Yeah, thank you for that fantastic segue, Tim, and mentioning away capitulations, because this was another one up there with Derby and Cardiff and Stoke. Crikey, I mean, we made some changes, didn't we? I mean, it was a game a few days after Watford, and it felt like the team hadn't really got over Watford, because it was just another dire, average, bog standard performance. And I mean the three goals pretty much highlighted what we already knew in that Pack has zero pace and is not exactly the best centre back, with a guy just who didn't look particularly quick, just timing his run perfectly. Pack trying to play offside, 1-on-1, and annoyingly for this season, I was quite optimistic that Schmidt was going to save it, but he put it in the bottom left corner. 1-0 down. Here we go again, and then another Pack poor header out from defence. They break, and 10 seconds later, it's in the back of the net, and then unfortunately, Ogilvy didn't get out quick enough. Ball comes in a corner, goes all over the place, and it gets knocked in, and we're 3-0 down in about 10-15 minutes. It was just one of those games. You could tell this was going to be one of those games when you got 3,400 fans travelling that way, and it was just such a poor performance. But I mean, I think from my perspective, it just highlights the kind of the threadbare quality that we have in the squad, and we've got pretty much zero depth. I mean, Moxon Lane and who's the other one who came, Silvera. I didn't even know he was playing when I was watching the game. I mean, they were just, it was just an all-round pretty poor performance. Nobody came away particularly with any pride or anything like that. And I just don't know whether, I think Messina had to make some changes because the schedule is so intense over the Christmas period. You can't do that pressing game that you did at Coventry. Watford took it out of us, and we just, it's just one of those where we just didn't turn up, write it off, and maybe a timely reminder to the owners that we just don't have much strength in depth. Personally, I think Pack, this will possibly be his last season. I just don't think he's got the pace for the midfield or at centre back, no matter how well he's done. Silvera looks like he might be going back to Middlesbrough. Lane wasn't particularly great. Ogilvy was slow getting out for the third goal. So overall, I think this might be a strategy of picking your games, resting key players, and just ticking it off as one gone. Let's focus on the next game. So yeah, pretty disappointing performance, but I can kind of understand why we had to make those changes. I think if you would have played Lang and Murphy in those games, I think they just may not have been as effective in the subsequent games. So yeah, not a great one.
Jamie, you look like you're crying there. Or are you all right? Was Silvera's performance that bad that it reduced you to tears?
Yeah, I'm just a bit tired after 25 days drinking on the trot and back to work. Finally catching up with me. But to touch on what Reece said there, me personally, I think I'd rather see Pack play in midfield than I would defence, because I don't think you need pace as much. You can control with good passing. A slow centre midfield player can still almost control the game. But I do think when you're playing a high pressing defence, you need defenders with pace. And to me, moving Pack back and playing high up the field to me is just I'm not going to use that word. It's not the right thing. I don't know, counterintuitive to me. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, I think the other risk with playing Pack at the back is it's fine when you're playing against. It works when you've got him alongside a reasonably experienced centre back, but when you're playing him alongside a player that needs to sort of be coached through a game, as Towler does, I think Towler lacks the experience to make the right decisions. He needs someone to be making those decisions for him sometimes, and you could see that in the Coventry game. I mean, admittedly, he was only just back from keeping the bench warm, but you could tell that he needs an experienced person to lead the line, and you can't look as good a captain as Pack is. You can't look for him to be that as a defender playing in a completely unfamiliar position.
To be fair,
I'm with you, Jamie. No disrespect to Marlon, but the sooner we get him out of the back four, the better.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's either him or McIntyre. We haven't had anybody else. I mean,
no.
It's not been a tactical, yes, deploy, that's a strategy. It's been trying to address a pretty shocking kind of defence performance from the people who've kind of been coming back from injury, really.
Yeah, definitely.
I think to Pack, in Pack's defence, when it's worked pretty well. And we've seen on 2 or 3 occasions that it does work, but only really at home. I think, and the problem is when it implodes like it did at Stoke, and it did at Bristol City and a couple of other times. We just seem to collapse. We don't. If we lose one or two quick goals, it could easily be 4, 5, or 6, and that's because we, as you said, Phil, we do have the experience in the team. I personally don't think Pack will play in midfield again unless it's a 3. I think it's quite evident what the requirement for physicality and for fitness is, and that's what Pot and Dazelle do. Potts is cleverer on the ball. Dazelle does a lot more of the dirty work and just passes the ball onto someone who's probably better than him at distributing it. Whereas Potts has got the ability to get the ball and also make something happen, go forward. I'm not sure whether Pack can play some beautiful passes when he's got time, but he won't have time at championship level, and I don't think he'll ever be able to cope with that. I think in a 3, if he was a pivot in a 3 with two hard-working midfielders with a Dazelle and Potts in front of him, 2 8s to his 6, I think that would work because he doesn't have to do the pressing, as you said, Jamie. It's all about the pressing. The midfielders have to press from the centre as well. And as you rightly said, if we're leaving our back 4 exposed, then we need that pace and experience at the back to cover the gaps. At the moment, once our pressing goes from the front 4 or the midfield 2 and the back 4 are exposed, it doesn't work if the players are not on it. So, and that's what happened to Bristol City. It just all went wrong. Ogilvy had a really poor game, and I think the reason for that was Silvera. Silvera was giving him absolutely no support defensively. He was not doing anything intelligently forward. He wasn't making the runs to support Ogilvy when he goes wide. And we'll talk about. We won't labour on Silvera, but it's interesting that obviously he got shocking abuse from the Bristol City away support. As Phil will attest, because he was there as well as I was. And I must admit, for my own sins, I joined in and wanted him off the pitch. But to be fair, when a player is not doing anything, I think it's fair and right for the fans to say to him, you need to say to the management, you need to change the team. It's not personal against Silvera. It's, there's probably several times across this season where fans have shouted for players to get replaced, albeit sometimes far too late, which we saw again against Sunderland. But Silvera has done nothing all season, and the football club doesn't owe him a career, and it doesn't owe him a place in the team. If he's not doing it, he should be gone, and he shouldn't be anywhere near the first team.
I think that Silvera was an easy target in that game personally, because I think he was no worse than any of the other 2 that were playing alongside him behind Bishop. I mean, Lane, he touched the ball more times than Lane did. I thought he put probably the best, before Murphy came on, he probably put the best ball into the box out of the whole team. I'm not a fan of his. I don't think he's any good. I want to see him go back, but I think the way he was singled out when there were plenty of other culpable players in that match. I was a bit disappointed with the fans.
I think you got a point, and I think most large extent you're right, but I think the barrier broke. I think the frustration broke that he was given an opportunity and he was nowhere near taking it. And as you say, that it was the whole team failed in that first 30-40 minutes. Not just Silvera, but he was a massive part of why the team didn't work and didn't function, because he wasn't working hard enough. And unfortunately, at this level, everyone has to work as hard as possible. And we've only achieved results when everyone is working as hard as possible. So, yeah, it's a shame for him. But, let's hope he goes back to Middlesbrough and, does something different, or goes on loan somewhere else and does something different and actually has a career, because at the moment it doesn't look like he's got one.
Yeah, he can't.
If they loan him out, let's hope they don't loan him out to someone we've got to play in the second half of the season, because he will have the game of his life against us if they do.
Don't you know it? Yeah. Right, let's move on to more uplifting news, and that was our win against Swansea 4-0 at home. And Jamie, you're doing this one, so off you go, mate.
Yeah, well, it was my first game back at Fratton Park since October, and it looks like someone had informed the boys, because they were bang up for it. And on it from the minute that first whistle went. I'm not sure how many Weetabix the lads had that morning, but I reckon a couple of them might have been spiked. First goal, absolute beauty. Zach Swanson wins the ball down on the right. He has a little one-to-one with Paddy Lane, and they charge up the pitch to counter. Paddy somehow pulls the chasing defender away from Zach, who proves why he was once a Football Manager wonder kid with an innocuous low cross to Josh Murphy, who slams a half volley right into the roof of the net. It was a beautiful goal. It really was. Atmosphere from that moment on, it just changed. The whole ground was alive. Shortly after that, I was really amused by Swansea's number 4. I've started judging players' injuries based on the amount of limps that it takes for them to recover. And Jay Fulton, he didn't let me down. I can't remember who it was that shoved him into the Fratton End advertising boards. I think it was probably Pack. He can still definitely do a job for us for shoving people into the advertising boards. But the Fulton waited until the ref came along to help him up before he miraculously recovered from his devastating 4-limp affair. I love Paddy Lane. I think he's got bags of enthusiasm. Really do. He's one of the youngsters I think will really go on, could become a star from us. Similar to like how Matty Taylor and Gary O'Neill, that they weren't judged to be players of a high caliber when they were started in the squad, but they went on and developed with the players around them, and scored some amazing goals. So I've watched his goal 5 times now, and I'm still not 100% sure how he got his leg around that defender, but he did, and I was delighted to see that cheeky little goal going for 2-0. Ollie Taller's another one. We've said this morning. We've said that he's, he needs leadership around him, but he's got a spark about him, that kid. And I genuinely thought that he challenged for man of the match in this game. He kept a clean sheet. He got a goal. I really thought he was good. Sometimes, that 40-yarder he got in pre-season, I really do think he's another one. He could go on to be, a really good player for us. He got a sweet header in the bottom corner from a Peachy Potts free kick. Then there was that wonder strike from Murphy.
Yeah,
that would have been goal of the season if that had gone in. And he was just on fire, and he absolutely went for it. A few minutes later, he absolutely personified the pressing game that we saw throughout that match. He's nicked the ball off the defender, and he set up the magic man, Colby Bishop, for probably the easiest tap-in he'll have of the season to finish off a wonderful 4-0. The other highlights for me of that match was with the fans. The choruses of England, England were brilliant, and it's a long way back to Swansea when you're shit was just fantastic. Brilliant game, loved it. Yeah, I'll definitely will come back again.
Bishop nearly missed, didn't he?
Yeah.
He gave the keeper far too much of an opportunity to save it. Luckily, he managed to just push it into the corner rather than around the post. But yeah, no, thanks for that, Jamie. That's a good summation of the game. So that's out of the 5 of our Christmas and New Year fixtures, we won 2 and drew 3. Unsurprisingly, the 2 we won were at home. The 3 we lost were away. So that's kind of sums up our season. And of course, the other day we had Sunderland, where we had a narrow 1-0 loss, which was a very, very competitive game. I think they've well deserved the lead up until half time, Sunderland, and I think we managed to sort of put some pressure on them early on the second half. So it's so disappointing to see that when obviously Mac made that decision to try and take on the forward, and then ran into the other forward who went past him, and he had to drag him back. Basically, that was, as we thought, was the game over, and the new chap came on. So Phil, you were very impressed with the new defender.
Yeah, I liked the cut of his jib. I liked he had a sort of a very physical presence. He looked completely unflappable. I think he gave Towler a bit of confidence. He straight in there, led the line, which I thought was excellent, because I think the defence needs a leader, and the leader has to be a centre back, because they have the vision to be able to tell people when to push, when to drop. And I thought he steadied the ship, and he put his body on the line. He looked like someone who wanted to be there. And yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of him over the next few weeks.
Well, it was a 7-figure signing before, I think he'd played 50 odd games in the Championship before he had his ACL injury, and he's been back. I think he's been back a couple of months, hasn't he? But he hasn't really had an opportunity in Bristol City's first team, so that's why I guess. I mean, Mousinho obviously knows him really well from Oxford, and that he went from Oxford to Bristol City, so from League One up to And I think before he got injured, there were quite a few Premiership clubs looking at him. So he's got the pedigree. Another left footer, unfortunately. If he was a right footer, then obviously that gives us far more options to replace Pack. But I suppose we could play two left footers at the back, whether he pairs McIntyre or he pairs Towler with him. But I guess it'll be his first full run out on Friday to give him some minutes and to see how he gets on with it with a partner. I mean, do we know if Paul's going to be back anytime soon? He's out longer than I thought he was going to be.
It's all gone quite quiet, hasn't it?
Yeah,
it tends to be the MO, doesn't it, with injuries? I mean, Farrell came back out of the blue, and but I thought I read that Shaughnessy was in contention to play on Friday as well. I mean, I was really impressed with him. Really impressed. I think when he got his ACL within about a month or two, they'd given him another 3-year contract. So that he's clearly, as Phil said, he just looks big, which I think is something we've been missing. He looks muscular, and the chances of staying up, I think, increased significantly on that 20-minute cameo. Because if he can stay fit, I think that's one part of the defensive jigsaw that we've been missing that could help us keep some of those clean sheets and be a bit more competitive away.
yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what the actual long-term plan is, because Bristol City have been very clear that it's we want to give him minutes. But I had a brief venture onto a Bristol City forum just to see what their take on him was, and there's a few people there who think that he's had a falling out with Liam Manning, and they don't necessarily see he's got a future there. They wish he did, but it would seem that Manning prefers 2 or 3 players ahead of him, which leaves him in a kind of limbo. So you never know.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, obviously, we're more worried about the here and now than the summer. So we reached the halfway point, the 23 games point, with 23 points, so an average of a point a game. Now, obviously, extrapolate that over another 23 games, then that could be 46 points. That could be enough to stay up this season. From last season's table, from what I can work out, Plymouth stayed up with 52, I think it was, and that generally tends to be the benchmark. But that's because Rotherham was so poor; they only got 29 points. So I think a lot of the teams around at the bottom were beating them. Whereas it seems to be very, very, very tight all the way up to sort of 13th, 12th place this season, with only about 10 points separating those 12 positions. So it could be that, if we match our first half of the season, that we could be safe. But I'm guessing we're looking at not just trying to win our home games and get a point away. We're looking to improve our away results as well, which really have hampered our season so far this season. So Friday, FA Cup, third round, always usually very exciting. But are we looking at it this season as we just want to get through it without anyone getting injured? And do any of you think that he'll play a full strength squad or team, or will he rest quite a few players?
Please, just youth, get some players playing who need some minutes, lose, and let's concentrate on the league. I really hope he learns from what was a game where Paul got injured, which was another cup game away at, was it Cheltenham or something, and he didn't really need to play him. And personally, I'll be very happy if with a 1-0 away defeat and 90 minutes for Shaughnessy and Atkinson and etc., and we move on back to the league. I don't know what other people think.
I agree with you, but I think it depends on what sort of pressure John's getting from the owners, who we all know are extremely concerned about the shiny coppers. And, even if there's an extra 30 quid to be made from a couple of cup games, I reckon the Arsenals they'll be pushing him to get that money through the door before they would any foresight or thought about the actual future or benefit of our season.
I don't think Shaughnessy going to be fit. I think that I read that he was not going to be back till February. Pack's going to be suspended. So it does give us a bit of a problem at centre half. I imagine if he is going to rotate the squad, I think he'll give Atkinson the sort of 90 minutes, as Reece says. I think I think the defence could look like a bit of a makeshift affair, because we've obviously got no recognised left back beyond Ogilvie at the moment fit, unless Farrell's fit. I think Williams might end up getting a go in centre back, possibly, or even McIntyre. It'd be interesting to see who's available to sort of fill in.
I mean,
Maybe Kamara will get to play.
Well, I mean, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? You would have thought that this game would be perfect to give Kamara 90 minutes, or at least the first 70, to see whether he sinks or swims. Because if you think about it, they're going to have 3 or 4 days on the training pitch from the weekend. So you could see the Mourinho could sit down and say, right, okay, here's my first 11. You're going to play 90 minutes. You're going to play 90 minutes. You're going to play 90 minutes, and he could work on them to get them work. Get them working as a first 11 or first 13 to play against Wickham, even if you've got people like Kamara in, and maybe he'll chuck Silvera on the wing, or Shady up front, and that sort of thing. Give all the people on the bench who haven't had many minutes over the last 6-7 games, give them some game time, and just see how it goes. But the thing is, Wickham are doing really well in League One. They're one of the top 3 or 4 teams. Obviously, they're up against Birmingham and Wrexham, who are buying the league at the moment. So certainly in Birmingham City's case, so they're doing really well, and I think it would be very, very tough, even if we played our first 11. To be honest, so it will be interesting to see what sort of team he puts out on Friday. And I think that will get, what we see when the team sheet comes out. Will Jamie see how seriously he's taking it or not?
I'd like to see Lang, Bishop, Murphy, and Ritchie stay at home. Don't put them on the Don't even put them on the bench. I don't think that's it. I think keep them.
We've got Blackburn on Tuesday, the following Tuesday, haven't we? So it's only 3 days. It's only 4 days until the next
Wednesday, isn't it? Is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
Sorry, I thought it was Tuesday. I mean, I can check, but the point is, we've got a tough away match up north the following week, and we play a game every 3 or 4 days for the remainder of January. So you're right. I think you're right, Phil. Keeping those players fit is an absolute priority, because I think we do bemoan the defensive frailties, but also we've got nothing in depth to do with our front. Our front four, and we saw that quite painfully at Bristol. You take your best 3 of the front 4 out, you've got absolutely nothing in attack. So it's as annoying as it might be, we might be looking to just tread water through Friday and look forward to Blackburn. So as I said about the 23 points, how are you? Obviously, we now played 24 games and we're still only 23 points. But how are you feeling about Pompey's chances of staying up? I'll go with you first, Jamie. Sorry to go to you first again, but I'd like each of you to tell me whether you think Pompey are going to stay up and your reasons for that at the moment.
So I don't know if any of you saw that the figures for last year's spend was announced over Christmas, and I was quite surprised. Pompey spent £1 million on players in the last financial season, which when you look at the amount of players he brought in, that's not a lot. It's not a lot. Maybe it's a lot for League One, but it's not a lot. Compare that to Wrexham, Birmingham. It's not a lot for a club who are getting promoted. So I'm going to put that towards my thinking of how much we're going to spend in this transfer window, and I just don't think we're going to. I just think I just think the owners are just very stubborn. They're very frugal. I just don't think they value being in the league as much as they do the long game and their plan. With that said, I do think that this squad have enough about them, including Pack. I don't think his legs have gone totally. I think a lot of his problems were caused just by a lack of confidence. To me, when he was playing badly, he was hitting passes that were bad. It wasn't him running back, and that's why I've said it earlier on about him getting pushed into defence, and then expecting him to run back. All right, okay, he's getting slower, but his skills have never, to me, his best skills aren't pace. His best skills is how he can use that ball. And I still think that having him in the side this season, I think we can do a great escape with the players we've got. We might bring in some extra additional players, but whether they'll, they're not going to be of a really good quality. We're going to get average at best players, or players who've had 30 games in the championship, and that's where I'm setting my expectations. Even if I'm wrong, I'll be delighted if I am wrong, but that's what I'm expecting from the club. So with that, I think we are in for a real battle. We might make it. I'm certainly not going to bet the farm on it. But yeah, I think we can stay up, but we might not.
Well, it's a very good point about transfers, but we should be encouraged by Atkinson, surely, shouldn't we? You know, he was in the door within 2 or 3 days of the transfer window being opened, and we've seen some quality in him. So you don't know, we might get 3 or 4 more like him. It's possible. I mean,
Right.
unlikely, but it's possible.
Right. You can only go on previous form, and previous form says we're going to spend fuck all and hope that a few very injury-prone loans can save the day. So.
All right, cheers, mate. Phil, would you like to go next and give us your pearls of wisdom on doom and gloom or celebration and wheres and whyfalls?
I think we'll finish 14th or 15th. I think we'll be okay. I think, as Jamie says, I think there's quality in the team, not consistently, but there's quality there. But again, like Jamie, I think a lot of it depends on what comes in and what goes out. Because I think as we've seen in this division, you can beat almost anyone on any given day, and I think we've got the players to do it. I think we can see where there's the key areas that we need more strength. I think the other thing that we really have to realise is there's a few positions where we're an injury away from being in trouble. You know, if Bishop goes out, we're absolutely screwed. You know, if Lang's out for any period of time, and we're actually at the point where I would say if Andre Dazelle goes down injured, you know, we're in trouble because we don't have anyone to play that role in midfield. The problem is we've got shit players before we can bring people in. So we've brought in Atkinson. So I think everyone agrees, great bit of business. But obviously, to enable that, Norris presumably is the one to go. If we want to bring someone else in, someone has to go. Either we're going to have some players who are going to be sitting twiddling their thumbs, or we're going to lose a couple of 2 or 3 players out on loan or permanently to other clubs. Who they'll be, don't know. But I think they have to be very clever in this transfer window, and the players we bring in have to be players that are going to impact games from the get go. So, but like I say, 14th or 15th.
14th or 15th is very bold. I like that. Very good. On the point of having to move players out, there was an interesting article which Mousinho sort of. Well, he was very brazen and said, "I'm not here to make friends," kind of thing. And there was an interesting point in there where he said it kind of intimated that he would deregister players and not play them if he had to on January the 3rd. If in order to bring other, because you can bring players in now because if the transfer window's open. So I think the registration thing doesn't matter until the end of the month. But at the end of the month, you have to register your 25 players, and those are the 25 players you have to play the rest of the season with. So he was saying that if it gets to the end of the month and players haven't been moved on, he'll just deregister them, and they won't play for the club for the rest of the season. And I think that was in response to a question about Silvera about him going back. I think he was basically saying if Middlesbrough won't have him back, I'll deregister him and get someone else in. It'll be interesting, like you say, it'll be very, very interesting how the next 4 weeks goes, because it's going to be very tricky juggling things back and forth and trying to get players out onto loans or maybe hopefully transfers to get some money in. Tim, what do you think?
I hope it's as good as Phil's second half of the season suggests. We're obviously in a relegation battle. State the obvious there for you. But I think we can do it. I think there's a few reasons why we can do it. I think we've got a really good manager. I think most of the fans are fully behind him and the team. Yeah, we'd have liked to have brought in a bit more star quality, but we've got what we've got. And I think Mousinho's done well from the sort of early part of the season in trying to create we've had to work out what works for us, haven't we, really? He's had to kind of like shuffle things around and try different things. We've now got our sort of talisman in the Magic Man back up front. The other players up front are doing well at the moment as well. We look good at pressing the opposition, especially when teams like to fanny around with it at the back. We're great at closing them down and stopping them and nicking goals. And the other thing, of course, is at Fratton Park, we do that. The fans get behind, we cheer every tackle and every block and stuff like that. And we're starting to really make it difficult for teams to come down here at the moment. It's an obvious battle. It could sort of get worse before it gets better. You know, we could lose the next couple of games and be right back in that bottom three. I know we're only one place above it at the moment, but I think that we've got enough about us to be able to do it. It's just hoping that first team, that's the strong first 11, can stay fit, keep those levels up, bring those few additions in like Atkinson, who looks like a clear improvement, and see if we can sort of push on and stay out the bottom three at the end of the season. But I think we can do it.
Cheers, Tim. Sorry, Reece, 14th, or are we going to go any higher?
I'm in the Phil camp and Tim camp. I think I'm not saying it's going to be comfortable, but I think we'll stay up, and I think there's a number of reasons for that. I think first off, I really rate JM as a manager. The wife was very lucky to be at be entertained by the directors last weekend, and she saw him on the touchline, and she was really impressed with how he was managing the game, getting involved at the right time and everything. And I just love the cut of his jib. I just really rate him. I think also the fact we are currently, I think, fourth and bottom with like the lowest wages in the entire division shows we're punching above our weight, and how we're not in the bottom three with a centre back of our centre midfielder and our fifth choice defender. I have no idea. So I think those players coming back, I think they're going to be like new signings. If we can get Farrell fit, if we can get Shaughnessy fit, if we can get Atkinson fit, and get Swanson back, I think that will form a much more solid defensive line, at which we can then won't concede as many, and I think we'll be a lot more competitive at home. I think also, yeah, the transfer window is key. I think they're not going to bring people in just to kind of fill the squad. I think if they can get 3 or 4 good players, and I think Phil's right in that we are certainly very thin on the kind of the first team and key injuries, but then get Yengi coming back. If we get another defensive midfielder in there, and I just can't see us how we're going to be worse and have such poor injury kind of luck over the course of the second half of the year. I think our home form is a lot better, but also I think we've acclimatized to the division. I mean, after the first 7 or 8 games, I just could not see anything coming at all, any positivity, and it just seemed to have clicked, and we just seem to have got things going. We're competing a lot more. I think we're still having to choose, say, games and players and things, but yeah, I'm a lot more optimistic now, and I think we'll stay up. Whether we be 14th, I don't know, but certainly somewhere in between the 21st and 14th, definitely. I think.
Brilliant. Okay. I do think we'll stay up as well. I think there's an interesting word you said there, Reece. Luck. We've had such bad luck this season. Even before the season started, with Colby Bishop's news about his heart and him having to be out for several months. As it wasn't several months in the end, which is brilliant. So maybe we got a bit of the luck back. But we've had some terrible luck with injuries, and also some of the decisions during the season, the officials in some of our games, that you just got to hope that we have some better luck in the second half of the season, and combined with the hard work of the team and the organisation of the team that you've all highlighted, I'm sure that we can get to that 52 points that we probably will need in order to stay up. I don't think we're going to need any more than that, because it's very, very close up to 14th, as you said, Phil, and I'd love us to be up that high, because perhaps we can be safe with 2 or 3 games to go, rather than have to rely on maybe the last game of the season to stay up. But we've done it before in this league. I remember in a couple of times we won our final games of the seasons to stay up. So we've been there before, and we've done it before. Yeah, it's looking, as you say, Reece, it's looking a lot better than it did in the first quarter of the season. The second quarter of the season has shown that we can give ourselves a chance, and I guess that's all we really need, really. So yeah, I am positive that we'll stay up, and it'd be interesting to see how we can do it, and whether that's with the returning people from injury. So having Shaughnessy and Paul back firing fit, and a couple of the others will be like having new signings, really, especially Shaughnessy. If he can get back to the level that he was achieving in League One last season, I think he could be a very, very good Championship central defender. So, all positive so far. So thank you very much, guys. Another great episode. We'll hope to bolster this with another one in a couple of weeks. So thank you very much for your input and your really, really good reviews of each game. We'll do that again in the next episode. And hopefully that's a better way than me just droning on at the start of the episode. So thanks very much, guys. Have a great evening, and good luck to Pompey for Friday. So cheers, guys. Have a good evening.
Cheers. Thanks all.
Cheers, Ted.
Cheers.
See you later.
Cheers. Bye-bye.